My brother's pregnant wife said my 4-year-old died because of bad parenting while the family watched, so I took my kids and left without a word. That was 4 months ago. Yesterday, her son slipped us a letter through his school counselor begging to see us again. My wife and I have been married for 5 years, and we always dreamed of having a big family. Since we're Christian, we decided to wait until after the wedding to start trying. 3 months in, she got pregnant, and we had our first little boy. Only a year later, after our first was born, we had our daughter. A year after that, we had our second son. And finally, 2 years after that, we had our second daughter. However, this pregnancy was different from the last ones. During this pregnancy, my wife was constantly complaining about her back pains and how she was constantly sore all the time. During the delivery, the doctors realized that she had a tumor in her uterus, and they had to do immediate surgery. Luckily, my wife made it out incredibly healthy and well, but the doctors informed us that it would be impossible for us to have any more kids. She had postpartum depression after finding this out because she felt like she was letting me down and not giving me the big family I wanted, but I assured her that it was absolutely fine. Even with my constant reassurance, her depression didn't get any better for a couple more months. She was supposed to get maternity leave for only 3 months, but decided to stay for 7 months. I decided to reach out to my brother because we were very close. He has always been a great role model and older brother to me. However, his wife seems to not like me or my wife for some reason. She is always comparing her kids to ours and making comments about how unhealthy our firstborn boy's life is since he is already a national chess master. She says that he should be enjoying his life doing kid stuff, not on some geeky board. But we have already had this conversation with our son, and he absolutely loves chess, and the fact that he is good at it doesn't change anything in his average life. She also likes to make comments about my daughters as well, but me and my wife don't seem to mind for the most part. My brother says it because she is pregnant, so she is being emotional. My brother helped us out a lot with general things around the house, which made life a lot easier. Now, I absolutely love my wife, and she is the greatest human and mother to live on the face of this planet. However, she would sometimes be a bit uncautious with the kids. This didn't happen with our first baby, but I think with all her emotions bottled up after the second pregnancy, it made her a bit emotionally preoccupied. Sometimes she would forget the stove was on, and I had to turn it off to make sure the house didn't explode, but I never told her about how she needed to be a bit more aware because I knew she was already struggling with so much. That's when it happened. One day while I was at work, my wife decided to take the kids to the park. My daughter got hit by a car, and after 6 hours of emergency surgery, she sadly did not make it. My wife doesn't have a good recollection of what happened, nor do I want to talk about it on this platform, but it was the most traumatic experience of my life. My wife and I have been dealing with it for the past 4 months, and even though we are suffering inside, we have to keep up for our kids. Now, this is also about the time that my brother's wife invited all of our family to a pool party at their place. My wife and I thought it would be a good idea for our kids to socialize with their cousins. My whole family was there, and they were all extremely supportive of me and my wife. They all gave their condolences and were super polite about it, except for my brother's wife. Apparently, according to my brother, it was again just the fact that her emotions were out of whack because of her pregnancy, but my wife never acted like this. Still, we all tried to enjoy ourselves, and the kids were certainly having a great time at my brother's gigantic pool. That's until the kids started playing pranks on us. The kids pushed me into the pool while I was by the edge. I did think this was funny, but then they started taking things too far by damaging me and my wife's brand new Tesla. We calmly explained to all of the kids, including my nephews, why these types of pranks were not acceptable. In the middle of me lecturing them, my brother's wife stepped in and started shouting at me and my wife. She told us that we have no grounds to talk to their children, and that it was probably all my children's fault anyway. My wife obviously was not having it, and said that the children were the ones that actually did the damage. Things escalated more and more until some other family members came to see the commotion. That's when my brother's wife dropped a bomb and said, "Maybe this is why your daughter is dead." My wife started crying and left, whereas I stayed and demanded an explanation. What happened next was even crazier though. My brother Derek immediately stepped between us, his face flushed as he grabbed my shoulders. "Axel, calm down. She didn't mean it like that." His grip tightened when I tried to push past him. You know how pregnancy hormones are. Melissa's been having a really tough time. I stared at him in disbelief. Behind him, Melissa crossed her arms over her swollen belly, her chin raised defiantly. The pool filter hummed in the sudden silence as our family members shifted uncomfortably around us. "Pregnancy hormones?" My voice cracked. "She just said that about Emma, about my daughter. Look, I know it came out wrong," Derek continued, his hands still on my shoulders. "But you're both emotional right now. Let's just take a breath and—" "Both emotional?" I shoved his hands away. "My 4-year-old daughter is dead, Derek, and your wife just—" "Stop being so dramatic," Melissa interjected, stepping around Derek. "I'm sorry if you took it the wrong way, but you were yelling at my kids. What was I supposed to do?" My hands shook as I pointed at the deep scratches on our Tesla's door. "They damaged our car. We were explaining why that's not okay. To all the kids. Oh, please, it's just a car." She rolled her eyes. "You can afford to fix it, unlike some of us who actually have to budget for our growing families." My mother appeared at my elbow, her voice soft. "Axel, honey, maybe we should all just cool off. This heat is getting to everyone." "The heat?" I looked around at my family. My cousins avoided eye contact. My aunt studied her sandals. Uncle Jim suddenly found the pool tiles fascinating. "She just used my daughter's death as a weapon, and you're blaming the heat?" "Nobody's blaming anything," Mom said quickly. "But Melissa is 7 months pregnant. You remember how Sarah was during her pregnancies. These things happen." "These things happen?" The words tasted bitter. Sarah never once said anything cruel about someone's dead child. "Because Sarah never had anyone discipline her perfect little angels," Melissa snapped. "Maybe if you two weren't so busy trying to be parents of the year, you'd have noticed." "Melissa," Derek warned, but she kept going. "What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. They act like their kids are so special. Chess champion this, honor roll that. Well, look where all that helicopter parenting got them." I lunged forward, but 3 seconds sets of hands held me back. My cousin Jake, Uncle Jim, and even my younger brother Tom formed a barrier between us. Not worth it, man, Jake muttered. Think of Sarah. Sarah. I spun around, searching for my wife. The sliding glass door to the house stood open, the curtains still swaying. She'd heard everything. I need to check on my wife, I said, shaking free from their grips. Axel, wait, Derek called after me. We can work this out. It's family. I paused at the door. Family doesn't do this, Derek. Inside, I found Sarah in the bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet lid with her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. I knelt in front of her, pulling her hands gently away from her face. Hey, I whispered. I'm here. She said it was our fault. Sarah's voice was barely audible. That Emma died because of us. She's wrong. You know she's wrong. But what if? No. I cupped her face. No what ifs. What happened to Emma was an accident. A terrible, horrible accident. Not your fault. Never your fault. A knock on the door interrupted us. Sarah? Axel? It was my sister-in-law, Derek's younger sister, Kate. Can I come in? Sarah nodded, and I opened the door. Kate slipped inside, closing it behind her. I'm so sorry, Kate said immediately. What Melissa said was unforgivable. Then why is everyone out there forgiving it? I asked. Kate sighed. Because they're cowards. Because it's easier to pressure you two to let it go than to confront her. She's pregnant, Sarah said flatly. Apparently that excuses everything. It doesn't, Kate said firmly. And this isn't the first time. Sarah and I both looked up at her. Kate bit her lip. Remember when cousin Marie lost her baby, stillborn? At the Christmas party that year, Melissa made a comment about how maybe it was nature's way because Marie was over 40. My stomach turned. I didn't know about that because Marie never came to another family event. She cut contact with everyone who was there and didn't defend her. Kate's voice was bitter, which was basically everyone. Why didn't anyone tell us? Sarah asked. Because Derek always makes excuses. Because mom thinks keeping the family together is more important than anything else. Because everyone would rather enable a bully than risk drama at Sunday dinners. Another knock. Axel? Sarah? It was my mother again. Everyone's worried. Can we talk? I looked at Sarah. Her face had hardened into something I'd never seen before. She stood, wiping her eyes. Yes, she said. Let's talk. We emerged from the bathroom to find most of the family crowded in Derek's living room. Melissa sat in the center of the couch, Derek's arm around her, playing up the wounded pregnant woman act. The kids had been sent somewhere else, probably the game room. Sarah, sweetheart, my mother started. We all understand you're going through a difficult time. Stop. Sarah held up her hand. Just stop. You all understand? Really? Which one of you has buried a child? Silence. Which one of you has had to pick out a casket small enough for a 4-year-old? Which one of you has had to explain to her siblings why their sister isn't coming home? Sarah, Aunt Linda tried. We're not saying we understand completely. You're not saying anything. Sarah's voice rose. None of you said anything when she weaponized my baby's death. You stood there. You let it happen. And now you want me to be the bigger person? To let it go? For the sake of family unity, Uncle Jim said. Sometimes we have to forgive. Family? Sarah laughed, but it was sharp, broken. Family doesn't stand by while someone uses your dead child as ammunition in an argument about scratched paint. Family doesn't make excuses for cruelty. Family doesn't choose comfort over compassion. You're being overdramatic, Melissa muttered from the couch. Sarah turned to her slowly. Say that again. I said you're being overdramatic. I'm sorry if what I said hurt your feelings, but if? Sarah stepped closer. If it hurt my feelings? You told me my daughter died because of my parenting. You used the worst pain I've ever experienced as a weapon because you were mad about your kids being disciplined. I'm pregnant, Melissa said, as if that explained everything. I've been pregnant 4 times, Sarah shot back. Never once did hormones make me cruel. Never once did carrying a life inside me make me callous about another life lost. Everyone handles pregnancy differently, Derek interjected. Melissa's been having a really hard time. Stop, I said. Stop making excuses. Stop enabling her. Stop choosing her comfort over our pain. I'm not choosing anyone, Derek protested. I'm just saying we can all move past this. We're family. No, Sarah said quietly. We're not. Not anymore. The room erupted. Everyone talking at once, trying to convince us we were overreacting, being too sensitive, breaking up the family. Through it all, Melissa sat on the couch with a small, satisfied smirk. Enough! Sarah's shout silenced everyone. You want to know what breaks up a family? Standing by while someone attacks grieving parents? Making excuses for cruelty? Choosing to enable a bully rather than protect the vulnerable? She turned to face everyone. 4 months ago, I lost my daughter. Every day since then, I've woken up to a world that's missing her laugh, her smile, her little hands in mine, and I've survived it because I thought I had family who understood that pain, who would protect that sacred grief from being weaponized. Her voice broke. But you've shown me today that keeping Melissa comfortable is more important than keeping Emma's memory respected, that avoiding conflict matters more than standing up for what's right. Sarah, please, my mother tried again. Think of the cousins. The kids shouldn't suffer because the adults can't get along. The kids? Sarah's eyes flashed. You're worried about the kids? Where was that concern when Melissa said what she said in front of any child who might have been listening? What message does it send when they see cruelty excused because the cruel person is pregnant? No one answered. Sarah walked to where our children were gathered by the door, having crept back to see what the shouting was about. She knelt down to their level. Get your things, she said gently. We're going home. But Mom, our oldest protested. We were having fun. I know, baby. But sometimes we have to leave situations that aren't healthy, even when it's hard. As we gathered our belongings, the family continued their chorus of protests. Derek followed us to the door. Axel, come on. Don't do this. She didn't mean it. You know she didn't mean it. I turned to face my brother. That's the problem, Derek. I think she did mean it, and I think you know she meant it. But you'd rather we swallow our pain than confront your wife's cruelty. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed bitterly. Was it fair when she used our daughter's death against us? Was it fair when every single person in that room chose to protect her instead of us? We're not choosing sides. Yes, you are. You chose. And you chose her. We loaded the kids into the car. As I started the engine, my phone began buzzing with texts. Sarah's too. Family members trying to guilt us into returning, into apologizing, into letting it go for the sake of family peace. Sarah turned off her phone and stared out the window. They'll never understand, will they? No, I said. They won't. won't. I can't go back there, she whispered. I can't sit across from her at Christmas dinner and pretend she didn't say what she said. I can't watch everyone act normal while knowing they'd rather protect her than us. Then we won't, I said simply. We'll make our own holidays, our own traditions, with people who actually care about us. Sarah reached over and took my hand. I'm sorry, your family. They're not my family, I interrupted. Not anymore. Family doesn't do what they did today. As we drove away, I saw Derek still standing in the doorway, Melissa beside him with her hand on her belly and that same satisfied expression. The rest of the family had probably already moved on, convincing themselves that we'd cool down, that we'd come around, that family was more important than principles. They were wrong. That night, after the kids were asleep, Sarah and I sat on our back deck, the same deck where Emma used to play with her toy tea set, serving us imaginary cookies and telling us elaborate stories about her stuffed animals. I miss her so much, Sarah said. I know, me too. And now we've lost them too. Your family. I pulled her close. We haven't lost anything worth keeping. Anyone who could stand by while you were attacked like that, anyone who could make excuses for that kind of cruelty, they're not family. They're just people we happen to share DNA with. Your mom will probably call tomorrow, try to smooth things over. Probably. What will you say? I thought about it. That Melissa crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. That they had a choice between protecting grieving parents or enabling a bully, and they chose wrong. That we won't expose ourselves or our children to that kind of toxicity again. Sarah nodded against my chest. They'll say we're breaking up the family. The family broke itself when they chose comfort over compassion. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the night sounds. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed, and we both tensed. Every child's laugh sounded like Emma's now. Every little girl with dark curls made our hearts skip. I keep thinking about what Kate said, Sarah murmured. About Marie, how she cut everyone off after they didn't defend her. Yeah, I used to think that was extreme. Now I understand. How can you sit across from people who watched you be attacked and did nothing? Who made excuses for your attacker? Who tried to make you the villain for not accepting the attack? You can't, I said simply. My phone buzzed again. Another text. This time from my mother. Please don't let this destroy our family. Think of what Emma would want. I showed it to Sarah. Her face hardened. She did not just invoke Emma to manipulate us into forgiving this. She did. Sarah grabbed my phone and typed back. Emma would want her memory respected. Emma would want her parents protected. Emma would want people to stand up to bullies, not enable them. Don't you dare use my daughter's name to guilt us into accepting abuse. She hit send before I could stop her. Not that I would have. I'm done, she said. Done trying to keep the peace. Done swallowing my pain so others can be comfortable. Done pretending that family means accepting any treatment because of shared blood. Good, I said, because I am too. The next morning arrived with a barrage of phone calls. I'd turned my phone to silent, but the screen lit up constantly with names I'd grown up trusting. Dad, Aunt Linda, Uncle Jim, even cousins who hadn't been at the party were suddenly involved, having heard some version of events that undoubtedly painted us as the unreasonable ones. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, stirring her coffee absently while our kids ate breakfast. Our oldest son kept glancing between us, clearly sensing something was wrong, but not quite understanding what had shifted in our world overnight. Are we going to see Uncle Derek today? He asked innocently. Sarah's hand stilled. I set down my own mug carefully. Not today, buddy, I said. We're going to have a family day, just us. But we were supposed to practice chess with cousin Tyler this weekend. The knife of that simple statement twisted. Tyler was Derek's oldest, and he'd been learning chess from our son. They'd formed a genuine bond over the game. Two kids who didn't care about adult complications. We'll figure something else out, Sarah said softly. Sometimes plans change. Our daughter, the younger one, looked up from her cereal. Is it because of what happened at the pool when everyone was yelling? Kids noticed everything. We'd tried to shield them, but they'd heard enough. Sometimes adults disagree about important things, I explained carefully. And sometimes we need space from each other to figure things out. Like when me and Jamie fight and Mom makes us go to different rooms, she asked. Something like that, sweetheart. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Derek. Axel, we need to talk. Man to man. Without the wives. I can come by this afternoon. I showed Sarah. She read it and shook her head. Without the wives, she repeated. Because clearly I'm the problem here. You're not the problem. You've never been the problem. I know that, but they don't. I typed back. There's nothing to discuss. Your wife crossed a line. You defended her. That tells me everything I need to know. His response was immediate. You're being stubborn. She's pregnant and emotional. You can't throw away family over one comment made in anger. One comment. As if those words hadn't been carefully chosen weapons. As if the cruelty hadn't been deliberate. Block him, Sarah said quietly. Please, I can't. I can't watch you have these conversations. It hurts too much. I blocked Derek's number. Then, one by one, I blocked the others who'd stood by and watched. Mom was the hardest. Her name sat there on my screen, decades of memories attached to those 3 letters. But she'd made her choice yesterday. She'd chosen the easy path over the right one. The kids finished breakfast and scattered to their usual Saturday morning activities. Our son to his chess computer, our younger daughter to her art supplies, our middle child to his books. The house felt oddly quiet, without the usual prospect of family gatherings, cousin play dates, Sunday dinners. What do we tell people? Sarah asked. Our friends? The kids' teachers when they ask why the cousins don't pick them up anymore? The truth, that we've decided to distance ourselves from family members who don't respect us. They'll think we're overreacting, that we're those people who cut off family over petty drama. Let them think that. I reached across the table for her hand. We know the truth. Using our dead daughter as a weapon isn't petty. Standing by while it happens isn't drama. It's betrayal. Sarah's phone rang. Her mother this time. She'd been at the party but had left early, before the confrontation. Sarah stared at the screen, then answered. Hi, Mom. I could hear her mother's voice, concerned but measured. Sarah's face cycled through emotions as she listened. Yes, I heard what happened. No, Mom. She said our daughter died because of how we parent. I don't care if she's pregnant. Mom, stop. Sarah's voice hardened. If you're calling to tell me to forgive and forget, you can save your breath. What Melissa said was unforgivable, and the fact that Axel's family defended her tells me everything I need to know about their values. A pause. Her mother's voice rose slightly. Then they're wrong. anything, Sarah said flatly. I'm not ruining the family. The family ruined itself when they chose to protect an abuser instead of the abused. Yes, I said abuser. Using someone's dead child against them is abuse, Mom. Another pause. I have to go, Sarah said. I love you, but I won't discuss this anymore. Either you support us or you don't, but I won't be convinced that we're wrong for protecting ourselves. She hung up and set the phone aside with shaking hands. She thinks we should reconcile for the children's sake. Everyone's very concerned about the children when it suits them, I said bitterly. Where was that concern for our children when Melissa attacked their dead sister's memory? The weekend passed in a strange bubble. No family texts about Sunday dinner plans, no cousins dropping by, no Derek showing up with his toolbox to help with house projects. The absence felt both liberating and suffocating. Monday brought new challenges. I walked into work to find several colleagues giving me strange looks. Word traveled fast in our interconnected world. Derek and I worked in the same industry, though different companies. We had mutual professional contacts. My coworker Benjamin approached me at lunch. Hey man, heard there was some family drama this weekend. You okay? I tensed. What did you hear? Just that there was some big blow up at Derek's place, that you and Sarah stormed out and are refusing to talk to anyone. The narrative was already being shaped. We were the unreasonable ones who stormed out, not the grieving parents who were attacked. There was an incident, I said carefully. Someone said something cruel about our daughter who passed away. We decided it was best to leave. Benjamin's face shifted. Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was about. I just heard you guys were being dramatic about some pregnancy hormones thing. Is that what Derek's telling people? He looked uncomfortable. I mean, I heard it third hand. You know how these things get twisted. But I did know. Derek was already controlling the narrative, minimizing what happened, making us the villains in a story where we were the victims. That evening, Sarah met me at the door with red eyes. The school called. Melissa showed up at pickup time for her kids and tried to take ours too. Said there must have been a miscommunication about carpooling. My blood ran cold. What did the school do? Followed protocol. She wasn't on the pickup list, so they didn't release them. But she made a scene, told the office staff that we were having family troubles and keeping the kids from their cousins out of spite. This is escalation, I said. She's trying to force contact through the kids. The principal wants to meet with us tomorrow to clarify the situation. We spent that evening drafting emails, documenting everything. The principal, Mrs. Catherine, was understanding when we explained the situation in broad strokes. We didn't detail Melissa's exact words, that pain was too private to share with strangers, but we made it clear that certain family members were no longer authorized for pickup. I understand family dynamics can be complicated, Mrs. Catherine said carefully. We'll make sure staff are aware of the updated list. Tuesday night, the doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing on our porch, holding a casserole dish, the universal peace offering of Southern families. Sarah looked at me. Your choice. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. Axel, Mom started, her voice already thick with emotion. This has gone on long enough. I brought your favorite. Mom, stop. I held up my hand. A casserole doesn't fix this. I'm not trying to fix it with food. I'm trying to get my son to talk to me. We talked on Saturday. You made your position clear when you defended Melissa. I wasn't defending her. I was trying to keep the peace by sacrificing us. The words came out harder than intended. You were keeping the peace by telling us to accept someone using Emma's death against us. Mom's face crumpled. That's not. I would never. But you did. You stood there while Melissa said our daughter died because of our parenting, and your response was to remind us she's pregnant, as if that excuses cruelty. She didn't mean. Stop saying that! The words exploded out. Stop telling us what she meant. We heard what she said. We felt the intention behind it. And you're still here, days later, trying to convince us we misunderstood. Mom clutched the casserole dish tighter. I just want my family back together. Your family was never together, Mom. It was held together by people like Sarah and me swallowing our hurt and keeping quiet. By people like Cousin Marie disappearing rather than making waves. By victims staying silent so abusers could stay comfortable. Melissa isn't an abuser. She used our dead child as a weapon. What would you call that? Silence stretched between us. Down the street, a dog barked. Normal neighborhood sounds that felt surreal against this moment. I should have spoken up, Mom said finally, quietly. When she said it, I should have told her it was wrong. Yes, you should have. But I can't change that now. All I can do is try to fix this going forward. There's nothing to fix, Mom. The damage is done. Trust is broken. And honestly, I don't think it was ever really there. This just revealed what was always true, that keeping up appearances matters more than protecting the vulnerable. She started crying then. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. I don't want to lose you, either of you, or my grandchildren. You're not losing us. You're experiencing the consequences of your choices. There's a difference. What does that mean? It means we'll still exist. We'll still be your son and daughter-in-law, but we won't pretend that Saturday didn't happen. We won't sit at family dinners with Melissa. We won't expose our children to people who think their sister's death is fair game for cruel comments. So what? You'll just never come to family events again? Never let the cousins play together? The cousins can play together when their mother isn't around. Derek can bring them here or meet us at neutral locations. But Melissa is not welcome in our lives. Neither is anyone who continues to make excuses for her. Mom wiped her eyes. And if I can't accept that, then you're choosing her over us. Again. She left the casserole on the porch. I brought it inside after she drove away, and Sarah and I stood in the kitchen looking at it like it might explode. Your mom makes good casserole, Sarah said finally. She does. Doesn't make her a good person though. It doesn't. We threw it away. Keeping it felt like accepting a bribe. Wednesday brought a new development. Kate called Sarah while I was at work. I wanted you to know, Kate said over speakerphone that evening, that I told Mom and Derek exactly what I think of them. That they're cowards who enable Melissa because it's easier than standing up to her. How'd that go? Sarah asked. About as well as you'd expect. Derek accused me of trying to break up his marriage. Mom cried and said I was being divisive. The usual guilt trips. I'm sorry you're dealing with backlash, I said. Don't be. Someone needed to say it. I'm just sorry I didn't say it sooner. Maybe if I'd spoken up about Marie. We can't change the past, Sarah said gently. Just choose better going forward. That's actually why I'm calling. Thanksgiving is coming up. I'm not going to Mom's if Melissa will be there. Thought maybe we could do something together instead. You guys, me, me, maybe some other family refugees? Family refugees. It was apt. We'd like that, Sarah said. After Kate hung up, we sat with the strange realization that we were rebuilding, not reconciling, not returning to the toxic dynamic, but creating something new, something healthier. Thursday was our son's chess tournament. We'd debated pulling him out, knowing Derek and his family often attended these events. But that felt like letting Melissa's cruelty steal even more from our children. If they're there, we stay focused on our son, Sarah said as we parked. They don't exist for us. They were there. Of course they were. Derek spotted us immediately and started over, but I turned my back and guided our family to the registration table. I felt his presence behind us, hovering, but didn't acknowledge it. Axel, he said finally, this is ridiculous. We're brothers. I continued filling out forms. You can't just pretend I don't exist. Watch me, I said without turning around. The kids are confused. Tyler doesn't understand why his cousin won't talk to him. That almost broke me. The kids were innocent in this, but I couldn't let him use them as manipulation. Then explained to Tyler that his mother said something unforgivable about his cousin's dead sister. That choices have consequences. That might be a good life lesson for him. You're punishing children for adult problems. Now I did turn. No, Derek. You're using children to avoid accountability for adult choices. There's a difference. Melissa sat across the tournament hall, her pregnancy now even more visible. She caught my eye and had the audacity to wave, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't weaponized our greatest loss against us. Sarah's hand found mine. Don't let her steal this day from our son. She was right. We found seats far from them and focused on our child. He played brilliantly, the way he always did when he was centered and calm. Chess was his escape, his joy. Melissa had called it unhealthy, but watching him calculate moves with laser focus, seeing the pride on his face when he executed a difficult strategy, this was a child in his element. He won his division. As we celebrated, I noticed Derek and his family had already left. Good. Friday afternoon, an unexpected ally emerged. My father called. My parents had been divorced for years, and Dad lived several states away. He'd been largely absent from family drama, which I'd always resented but now felt grateful for. Heard through the grapevine there's been some family upheaval, he said in his understated way. I gave him the abbreviated version. Jesus, he said when I finished. She really said that? About Emma? Yeah. And your mother defended her? Everyone defended her, Dad. Or stood by silently, which amounts to the same thing. He was quiet for a moment. You know, this reminds me of why your mother and I really divorced. What do you mean? I mean the official story was, we grew apart. But the truth? I got tired of her need to keep peace at any cost. Even when the cost was truth. Even when the cost was justice. Even when the cost was protecting the people who needed it most. I didn't know that. You were young. We kept it civil for you kids. But there was an incident with her sister, your Aunt Linda. She was cruel to a waitress. Really cruel. Made the girl cry. And when I called her out, your mother made excuses. Said Linda was having a hard time at work, that I should let it go. That sounds familiar. It was a pattern. Anytime someone in her family did something wrong, there was an excuse, a reason to look the other way, a plea to keep the peace. I realized I was raising my children to either be bullies who never faced consequences or victims who never received justice. Is that why you moved so far away? Partly. Distance helped. I couldn't change who they were, but I could control my exposure to it. Do you regret it? Losing the family connections? Son, I gained more than I lost. I gained integrity, self-respect, the ability to look at myself in the mirror without flinching, and I gained the knowledge that my children would see at least one parent stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. After we hung up, I sat with that conversation. My father, who I'd always thought of as disconnected, had been protecting his peace all along. He'd chosen principles over proximity, values over visits. That weekend, Sarah and I took the kids to a new park, not the one where Emma had been hurt. We'd never go back there, but a different one across town. As they played, we talked about the future. The holidays are going to be hard, Sarah said. Thanksgiving, Christmas, all those traditions. We'll make new ones. It's not just that. It's the questions. From the kids' friends' parents, from our friends. Everyone wants to know why we're not doing the big family gatherings anymore. We tell them the truth, that we're protecting our family from toxic dynamics. People don't like that answer. They want the pretty lie, that we're just doing something small this year excuse. Then they can be uncomfortable. We're done prioritizing other people's comfort over our truth. Our daughter ran up, breathless and happy. Mom, Dad, can we get ice cream? Of course, sweetheart. As we walked to the ice cream shop, our son fell into step beside me. Dad, are we ever going to see Uncle Derek again? I'd been dreading this question. I don't know, buddy. Right now, we need some space from them. Because of what Aunt Melissa said about Emma, kids heard everything. We'd tried to shield them, but they'd absorbed more than we realized. How do you know about that? I heard you and Mom talking, and Tyler texted me. He said his mom didn't mean it. What do you think? He was quiet for a moment, considering with the same focus he brought to chess. I think when someone says something mean about someone who died, they mean it, because you have to really want to hurt someone to use that. Out of the mouths of babes. You're very wise, I told him. So we're protecting ourselves? Yes, we're protecting ourselves and Emma's memory. Good, he said simply. Emma deserves that. The ice cream shop was crowded with weekend families, normal people living normal lives without the weight of family betrayal. Or maybe they all had their own hidden wounds, their own relatives who used cruelty as currency. That night, after the kids were asleep, Sarah showed me her phone. She'd been documenting everything in a private journal app. Every text, every manipulation attempt, every flying monkey sent to guilt us into reconciliation. Why? I asked. Because I know how this goes. Time passes, memories fade, and suddenly we're the ones who overreacted to a misunderstanding. I won't let them rewrite this narrative. She was right. Already, the story was being reshaped by those who hadn't been there. We were the dramatic ones, the unforgiving ones, the family destroyers, not the grieving parents who'd been attacked with their own daughter's death. Monday morning brought another surprise. A letter from Melissa, delivered to my office, handwritten, which must have taken effort given her usual preference for text-based confrontation. Axel, it read, I've been thinking about what happened at the pool party. I realize my words may have been harsher than intended. Pregnancy has been difficult, and I sometimes speak without thinking. I hope we can move past this misunderstanding for the sake of family family unity. The children shouldn't suffer for adult disagreements. Melissa. I read it 3 times, looking for the apology that wasn't there. May have been harsher than intended. Misunderstanding. Not, I'm sorry for using your daughter's death to hurt you. Not, what I said was cruel and wrong. I showed Sarah that evening. She laughed, but it was bitter. She's not sorry. She's sorry there were consequences. Should I respond? Number, any response gives her ammunition. She'll twist whatever you say into evidence that we're the unreasonable ones. So I didn't respond, but I kept the letter. Documentation worked both ways. Tuesday was harder. Our middle child came home from school upset. There had been a family tree project, and the teacher had asked about grandparents, aunts, uncles. He'd had to explain that we didn't see them anymore. The teacher looked at me weird, he said, like I said something bad. You didn't say anything bad, Sarah assured him. Sometimes families take breaks from each other. But why do we have to take a break? How do you explain to a child that adults can be cruel, that family can betray, that sometimes love isn't enough to overcome toxicity? Sometimes people say hurtful things, I tried. And when they're not sorry, really sorry, it's okay to protect yourself from being hurt again. Like when Benny kept pushing me at recess and wouldn't stop, so I stopped playing with him? Exactly like that. He seemed satisfied with that explanation, but Sarah and I exchanged looks. The ripple effects would continue. Our children would face questions, judgment, assumptions, all because we'd chosen to protect them from people who thought their sister's death was acceptable ammunition. Wednesday night, Derek showed up at our door. No warning, no call, just him on our porch at 8 p.m. looking haggard. Please, he said when I opened the door. Just 5 minutes. Number, Axel, I'm begging you. This is destroying my family. Your wife destroyed our family when she used Emma against us. You destroyed it when you defended her. She's pregnant. I started to close the door. Wait, okay, not the pregnancy excuse. I don't know what to do. Mom cries every day. Melissa and I are fighting constantly. Kate won't speak to us. The kids are confused and upset. This isn't what I wanted. What did you think would happen, Derek? That we'd just swallow that pain and show up for Sunday dinner like nothing happened? I thought you'd understand. That family meant more than one moment of anger. One moment? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Derek, your wife has been cruel to us for years. Comments about our parenting, our children, our choices. We overlooked it all. But using our dead daughter as a weapon? That's not a moment of anger. That's calculated cruelty. She was upset about the car. Stop. Just stop. If you're here to make more excuses, leave. If you're here to genuinely apologize and acknowledge what happened, we can talk. But I won't stand here and listen to you minimize what she did. He stood there, mouth opening and closing like he wanted to say the right thing but couldn't find it. Because the right thing would require admitting his wife was cruel, that he'd chosen her cruelty over our pain, that he'd failed as a brother when we needed him most. I can't, he said finally. I can't say she was wrong. She's my wife, and I was your brother. Sarah was your sister-in-law. Emma was your niece. But you've made it clear where your loyalties lie. I closed the door. Through the window, I watched him stand there for another minute before walking back to his car. Part of me, the part that remembered teaching him to ride a bike, being his best man, celebrating his children's births, wanted to call him back. But the larger part, the part that was a father and husband first, knew that some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. Thursday brought a call from an unexpected source. Marie, the cousin who'd lost her baby and disappeared from family events after Melissa's cruelty. Kate gave me your number, she said. I hope that's okay. Of course. I heard what happened, what Melissa said. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I wanted to call because I know what you're going through. Not the loss. I can't imagine losing a child who'd lived and laughed and been part of your world for years. But the family betrayal, that I understand. How did you handle it? Badly at first. I kept waiting for someone to reach out, to say they were sorry for not defending me, to acknowledge that what she said was wrong, but they never did, because acknowledging it would mean admitting they'd failed. And that family unity they prize so highly, it's built on the silence of people like us. Do you regret cutting them off? Number, I regret that it was necessary. I regret that they chose comfort over compassion, but cutting them off, that saved me. It let me grieve without having to pretend the people who enabled my attacker were safe. People think we're overreacting. People who haven't been through it always think that. They don't understand that some wounds are too deep for forgiveness, that some betrayals reveal who people really are. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. After we hung up, I found Sarah in Emma's room. We'd left it largely untouched, unable to face packing away her things. She sat on the floor, holding one of Emma's stuffed animals. Marie called, I said, sitting beside her. Yeah? I told her about the conversation. Sarah listened, tears sliding silently down her face. She's right, Sarah said finally. About the family unity being built on silence. How many times did we bite our tongues when Melissa said something cruel? How many comments did we let slide to keep the peace? Too many. And it escalated, because that's what happens when cruelty goes unchecked. It grows. We didn't know it would lead to this. Number. But we knew it was wrong, and we stayed quiet anyway, just like everyone else is staying quiet now. Friday was Halloween. We'd always done a big family trick-or-treat gathering, all the cousins together in coordinated costumes. This year, it was just us. The kids didn't complain, but I saw our oldest looking at photos from last year on his phone, all of them together. Emma, in her little witch costume, beaming at the camera. You okay, buddy? I asked. Yeah, just remembering. It's okay to miss how things were. Do you think it'll ever be normal again? I think we'll find a new normal. Different, but still good. Without them? With people who truly care about us, who would never use Emma's memory to hurt us. He nodded, pocketing his phone. I think Emma would understand why we're protecting her memory. I think so too. That night, as we walked through the neighborhood, I noticed other families, intact, whole, taking photos and laughing. Were they really as happy as they seemed? Or were they too hiding wounds, staying silent to keep peace, enabling cruelty in the name of family unity? Our phones stayed mercifully quiet. Perhaps the family had finally accepted our boundaries, or perhaps they were planning their next approach. Either way, for tonight, it was just us, our little family of 5 that should have been 6, making our own memories, protecting our own peace. Saturday morning shattered that peace. Sarah woke me early, her face pale. Look at this. She showed me her Facebook. Melissa had posted a long, dramatic status about family division and forgiveness and protecting children from adult conflicts. She didn't name us directly, but the comments made it clear everyone knew who she meant. Some people hold grudges over the smallest things, one aunt had commented. Pregnancy is so hard. People should be more understanding, wrote another. Breaking up family over words is just sad, Derek's friend had added. The narrative was being cemented. We were the grudge holders, the family breakers, the the ones who couldn't forgive a pregnant woman's small mistake. Should I respond? Sarah asked. Number, let them show themselves. Let everyone see who supports using a dead child as a weapon. But it hurt. Seeing people we'd shared holidays with, whose children had played with ours, reduce our pain to pettiness. Seeing them rally around Melissa, while we grieved not just Emma, but the family we'd thought we had. My phone rang. Kate, did you see it? She asked without preamble. Yeah, I commented. Told them exactly what Melissa said. Used Emma's name and everything. Let them defend that publicly. Kate, you don't have to fight our battles. Yes, I do, because someone should have fought Marie's. Someone should have fought yours the moment Melissa opened her mouth. Silence is what lets this continue. Within an hour, Kate's comment had been deleted, and she'd been blocked, but not before several people had seen it. My phone started buzzing with texts from peripheral family members who hadn't known the full story. Is that really what she said? One cousin asked. Why didn't anyone tell me? Wrote another. The narrative was cracking, but Melissa was in damage control mode. A new post appeared, this one about lies and exaggerations, and people trying to destroy a pregnant woman's reputation. She's really doubling down, Sarah said. She has to. Admitting what she really said would mean admitting she's the villain in this story. But the damage to their narrative was done. Some family members who'd been solidly in the Keep the Peace camp started reaching out privately, not to fully support us. That would require too much courage, but to express concern about what had really happened. We didn't engage. Their sudden interest in the truth after publicly supporting Melissa felt hollow. Where was this concern when we were being attacked? Where were these questions when we were being painted as the unreasonable ones? Sunday arrived with its absence of family dinner. Instead, we had a quiet morning at home. The kids made pancakes. We played board games. It was peaceful in a way our family gatherings had never been, without the underlying tension of waiting for Melissa's next cutting remark. I don't miss it, Sarah said suddenly, watching our kids laugh over a game. I thought I would, but I don't. It was always performative, always about maintaining an image rather than actually caring for each other. She was right. How many Sunday dinners had we endured Melissa's comments while everyone pretended not to notice? How many times had we comforted our children after she'd criticized their interests, their achievements, their existence, all for the sake of family unity that protected the cruel and silenced the hurt? That evening, my mother called again. This time, I answered. I saw Kate's comment before it was deleted, she said without preamble. Is that really what Melissa said about Emma? Yes. Silence. I didn't hear the exact words. I just heard shouting and came to see. By the time I got there, you were already leaving and Derek was saying it was pregnancy hormones, and you believed him without asking us, without checking what actually happened. I wanted to keep peace. You wanted to avoid conflict. There's a difference, Mom. Keeping peace would have meant addressing the person who broke it. You chose to pressure the victims instead because we're more likely to comply. I didn't think of it that way. Of course you didn't, because thinking of it that way would mean acknowledging your role in enabling abuse. Abuse is a strong word. What would you call using a dead grandchild as a weapon against grieving parents? Silence again. I failed you, she said finally. I failed Sarah. I failed Emma's memory. Yes, you did. Can you forgive me? Forgiveness isn't the issue, Mom. The issue is trust. You showed us that when we're vulnerable, you won't protect us. That when someone attacks us with our deepest pain, you'll make excuses for them. How do we trust you after that? I don't know, she admitted, but I want to try. I want to do better. Then start by holding Melissa accountable, publicly. Stop letting her control the narrative. Stop letting her paint us as the villains for protecting ourselves. Derek will be furious. Then Derek can be furious. His comfort isn't more important than our pain. I need to think about this. You do that, but while you're thinking, remember that every day you stay silent is another day you choose them over us. After I hung up, Sarah looked at me with something like hope. Do you think she'll actually do it? I don't know. Speaking up now, after publicly supporting them, would mean admitting she was wrong. That's hard for anyone, especially someone who's spent their life avoiding conflict. But at least she's finally hearing us. Maybe. Or maybe she's just trying to find a way to get us back in the fold without actually addressing what happened. Time would tell. Monday morning brought proof that Mom had made her choice. A Facebook post, carefully worded but clear. I've been reflecting on family dynamics and my role in them. I realize I've sometimes prioritized keeping peace over protecting people. When someone says something cruel, especially about a child who has passed, it's not hormones or stress, it's cruelty. And those of us who make excuses for it are complicit. I'm sorry to those I've failed by staying silent. I promise to do better. She didn't name names, but everyone knew. The comment section exploded. Derek accused her of betraying family. Melissa called her a troublemaker. Various relatives expressed shock that she would air family business publicly. But others, the quiet ones, the ones who'd been silenced before, started speaking up. Stories came out. Times Melissa had been cruel and the family had looked away. Patterns of behavior that had been ignored for years. It's like a dam broke, Sarah said, reading through the comments. All these people who've been hurt by her, finally feeling safe to speak up. My phone rang. Derek, your mother is destroying our family, he said without greeting. Melissa destroyed our family. Mom's just finally acknowledging it. This is your fault. You and Sarah, making a big deal out of nothing. Using our dead daughter as a weapon is nothing? She didn't mean... I hung up. We were past the point of these circular conversations, but the family reckoning continued. Kate called that evening, almost giddy. Did you see Aunt Linda's comment? She admitted that Melissa made her daughter cry at her wedding by criticizing her dress, and Uncle Jim's wife finally told the story about Melissa announcing her pregnancy at their daughter's graduation dinner. It's all coming out. Good, Sarah said. Let them all see what they've been enabling. But with revelation came retaliation. Melissa posted her own status, painting herself as a victim of a coordinated attack. Derek supported her, claiming people were ganging up on a pregnant woman. They announced they were taking a break from social media and family events for their mental health. Classic, Sarah muttered. Play victim when accountability comes knocking. But something had shifted. The family dynamic that had protected Melissa for years was crumbling. People were questioning why they'd stayed silent, why they'd prioritized her comfort over others' pain. Tuesday brought an unexpected visitor. Aunt Linda stood on our porch, looking uncomfortable but determined. I owe you an apology, she said when I let her in. When Melissa said what she said about Emma, I should have spoken up. I should have protected you both. Sarah studied her carefully. Why didn't you? Because I'm a coward, Linda said simply. Because speaking up would have made me a target. Because it was easier to let you bear the weight of her cruelty than to share it. And now? Now I realize that my silence made me complicit. That every time I let her cruelty slide, I enabled the next instance. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. It was the first real apology we'd received. Not qualified, not excused, just acknowledgement of failure and regret. I appreciate that, Sarah said carefully. But you understand why we can't just go back to how things were? I do. Trust is earned, and I haven't earned yours. But I wanted you to know that some of us see it now, see what we allowed to happen, and we're sorry. After she left, Sarah and I sat with the strangeness of it. The family wall of silence, once so impenetrable, was developing cracks. It doesn't change what happened, Sarah said. Doesn't bring Emma back into a world where her memory is protected. But maybe it prevents the next Marie, the next us. Wednesday was quiet. The social media storm had died down, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Sides had been chosen. Lines had been drawn. The family that had once gathered for every occasion was now fractured into camps. Thursday brought news through Kate. Derek and Melissa are hosting Thanksgiving, making a big deal about keeping traditions alive and not letting division win. It's clearly a loyalty test. Let them test, I said. We already know where we stand. Mom's not going, Kate added. Neither are Linda or Jim's family. Looks like their guest list is getting smaller. Part of me, the part that remembered Derek teaching me to throw a football, being there when each of my kids was born, felt sad. But the larger part, the part that had watched him choose his wife's cruelty over our pain, felt nothing but resolve. Friday was the kids' school Thanksgiving program. We sat in the auditorium, watching our children sing songs about gratitude and family. The irony wasn't lost on us. Family isn't always blood, Sarah whispered, watching our son help a classmate with their costume. Sometimes it's the people who choose to protect you instead of hurt you. She was right. In losing the family we'd been born and married into, we were discovering something else. Friends who checked in regularly, parents from school who'd heard something had happened and offered support without prying, Kate, who called daily just to make sure we were okay. That weekend, we started planning our own Thanksgiving. Kate would come, along with Marie and her family, some friends who had nowhere else to go, a hodgepodge of people who understood that family was about more than shared DNA. It'll be different, Sarah said, making lists. Different isn't bad. Number different might actually be better. The kids were adjusting too. Our oldest had started teaching chess to kids at the community center. Kids who actually want to learn, he said pointedly. Our middle child had joined a book club. Our youngest was thriving in art classes. Without the constant subtle criticisms from Melissa, without the tension of family gatherings where they walked on eggshells, they were blooming. I think Emma would like this, our daughter said one evening, working on a painting. She always said Aunt Melissa was mean. Maybe she's happy we don't have to see her anymore. Out of the mouths of babes, again. As November progressed toward Thanksgiving, the family divide solidified. Derek and Melissa surrounded themselves with the relatives who still believed in keeping peace at any cost. We built something new with those who understood that some costs were too high. Mom called the night before Thanksgiving. I wanted you to know I'm not going to Derek's, she said. I'll be alone, but I can't sit at a table with someone who used my granddaughter's death as a weapon. You don't have to be alone, I found myself saying. We have room. Sarah looked at me, surprised but not disapproving. Are you sure? Mom's voice was small. I'm sure that Emma would want her grandmother to have somewhere to go on Thanksgiving. I'm sure that choosing right, even late, still matters. But I'm also sure that this isn't a clean slate. It's a chance to do better. I understand. Thank you. After I hung up, Sarah took my hand. That was kind of you. She's trying. Late, but trying. And maybe showing her what real family looks like will help her understand what we lost when she stayed silent. Maybe. Thanksgiving arrived crisp and clear. Our house filled with the smells of cooking and the sounds of chosen family. Kate arrived early to help cook. Marie brought her children, who played easily with ours. Friends filled in the gaps, creating a warmth that had nothing to do with obligation and everything to do with choice. Mom arrived last, carrying her famous sweet potato casserole and looking uncertain. Thank you for having me, she said quietly. Thank you for choosing to be here, Sarah replied. For choosing us. The meal was different from years past. Smaller in some ways, but richer. Conversation flowed without the underlying tension of waiting for Melissa's next barb. The kids laughed freely. Stories were shared without fear of judgment. This is nice, Mom said at one point, looking around the table. Different, but nice. Different can be good, our son said. Like in chess. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to win the game. What piece did we sacrifice? Our daughter asked. The one that was hurting us, he said simply. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry I didn't protect you, all of you, from that hurt. We know, Sarah said. But you're here now. That matters. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Mom pulled me aside. Derek called earlier, while I was driving here. He wanted to know how I could choose them over him. What did you tell him? That I wasn't choosing sides. I was choosing right. He didn't understand. He might never understand. I know, and that breaks my heart, but not as much as knowing I failed you when you needed me most. She left with promises to do better, to be better. Time would tell if she could follow through. That night, as Sarah and I cleaned up, she paused by Emma's photo on the mantel. I think she would have liked today, she said. A house full of people who actually care about each other. No mean comments about her art, no comparisons to her cousins. Just love. Just love. We'd lost family. The kind you're born into. The kind you're supposed to be able to count on. But we'd gained something else. The kind of family you choose. The kind that shows up not because they have to, but because they want to. The kind that would never use a child's death as a weapon. The kind that understood some wounds don't heal just because someone demands forgiveness. The kind that knew protection sometimes looked like distance, and boundaries sometimes looked like walls. As we headed to bed, Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. Hi Sarah, this is Tyler. I know my mom said something bad about Emma. I'm sorry. I miss playing with my cousins. Maybe when I'm older we can be friends again. Sarah showed me the text, tears in her eyes. Derek must not know he sent this, I said. What do I say? The truth, that we miss him too, that none of this is his fault, that maybe someday, when he's older and can choose for himself, we'd love to see him again. She typed carefully, kindly, because the sins of the parents shouldn't fall on the children, because Tyler was a victim too, of a mother who used cruelty as currency and a father who enabled it. Send, she said, then turned off her phone. I can't handle any more tonight. As we lay in bed, the house quiet except for the sound of our children sleeping safely down the hall, I thought about the journey from that pool party to this moment. The pain was still there, the loss of Emma, compounded by the loss of family we'd thought we could trust. But there was something else too, peace. The peace of knowing we'd chosen protection over politeness. The peace of knowing Emma's memory was safe from those who would weaponize it. The peace of knowing our surviving children would grow up seeing that some things matter more than keeping cruel people comfortable. I love you, I told Sarah in the darkness. I love you too, she replied, and I love the family we're building, the one Emma would be proud of. The weekend after Thanksgiving brought an unexpected development. Derek's oldest son Tyler showed up at our door Saturday morning, his bike leaning against our porch railing. Sarah and I exchanged shocked looks through the window. Tyler? I opened the door, scanning the street for Derek's car. Does your dad know you're here? The 13-year-old shifted nervously. He thinks I'm at the library, but I had to come. I need to talk to my cousin about something for the chess tournament next week. Sarah appeared beside me, her expression conflicted. The kid wasn't responsible for his mother's cruelty, but having him here felt like crossing a line we'd carefully drawn. Tyler, we can't, I started. Please, he interrupted, his voice cracking. I know what my mom said about Emma. Dad told me I wasn't allowed to talk to you guys anymore, but it's not fair. None of this is fair. Our son had heard the doorbell and came running. He stopped short when he saw his cousin, hope and uncertainty warring on his face. Can Tyler come in? He asked quietly. Just for a little bit? Sarah and I had a silent conversation with our eyes. Finally, she nodded. 15 minutes. Then you need to go home before your parents realize where you are. The boys disappeared upstairs, and Sarah started pacing. This is going to cause problems. I know. Derek will accuse us of undermining his parenting. Probably. 20 minutes later, Tyler came back downstairs, looking lighter than when he'd arrived. Thank you, he said simply. I'm sorry about everything. You don't need to apologize for things that aren't your fault, Sarah told him gently. He left, and we held our breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. It came 3 hours later. Derek's car screeched into our driveway, and he was at our door before the engine fully died. How dare you, he snarled when I opened the door, going behind my back, encouraging my son to disobey me. We didn't encourage anything, I said calmly. He showed up. We let him talk to his cousin for 20 minutes. That's all. You had no right to what? Let two kids maintain a friendship despite adult problems? You're right. How terrible of us. Melissa emerged from the car, her pregnancy now in its final weeks. This is kidnapping, she announced dramatically. We could call the police. Sarah appeared behind me. Please do. I'd love to explain to them why you're trying to prevent cousins from speaking to each other. Maybe mention what you said about our dead daughter while we're at it. Melissa's face flushed. You're poisoning him against us. We didn't mention you at all, Sarah said. Believe it or not, everything isn't about you. Everything's been about you since your kid died, Melissa spat. Poor Sarah, poor Axel, everyone walking on eggshells. Get off our property, I said quietly. Now. Derek grabbed Melissa's arm. Let's go. No, I'm tired of them playing victim. Their daughter died because Sarah wasn't watching her properly, and somehow that's everyone else's problem. Sarah moved so fast I barely saw it. Not to strike Melissa, she'd never give her that satisfaction, but to pull out her phone and start recording. Say it again, Sarah said, her voice deadly calm. Tell everyone how our daughter's death is our fault. Let everyone see exactly who you are. Melissa realized her mistake. The few neighbors who were outside had stopped to watch. Mrs. Patterson from across the street had her own phone out. Turn that off, Derek demanded. Public property, Mrs. Patterson called out. You're making quite the scene. Derek dragged Melissa back to their car, but she couldn't resist one last shot. This is why nobody wants you at family events anymore. You're exhausting. Nobody wants us? Sarah laughed, but it was sharp. Check your Thanksgiving guest list again. They peeled out, leaving tire marks on our driveway. Mrs. Patterson walked over, shaking her head. I recorded the whole thing, she said, in case you need it. That woman is vile. The video was on social media within hours. Not posted by us. We had no interest in that drama. But Mrs. Patterson's daughter, who'd been visiting. The court of public opinion was swift and harsh. Melissa's carefully crafted image of the victimized pregnant woman crumbled as people watched her attack grieving parents in their own driveway. Mom called that evening. I saw the video. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Tyler just wanted to see his cousin, I said tiredly. I know. Derek called me ranting about boundaries and respect. I told him the only disrespect I saw was from his wife. How'd that go? He hung up on me, but I'm done enabling him. Watching that video, seeing how she spoke to you both, I'm ashamed I ever defended her. Sunday brought a grief support group meeting. We'd started attending a month ago, finding solace among other parents who understood the weight of loss. As we settled into our usual seats, a familiar face caught my eye. Marie sat in the corner, tissues clutched in her hand. After the meeting, she approached us. I hope it's okay I'm here. I know it's been years since my loss, but seeing you two stand up to the family, it brought everything back. Grief doesn't have an expiration date, Sarah said, hugging her. I've been in therapy, Marie admitted, working through not just the loss, but the betrayal. My therapist says the family trauma might actually be harder to process than the grief itself, because death is final, I said, but betrayal is a choice people make every day. That afternoon, Kate texted with news. Derek and Melissa's baby had arrived early. A little girl. The family was buzzing with the standard congratulations and hospital photos. Do we say anything? Sarah asked, looking at the announcement. We wish the baby health and happiness, I decided. The child isn't responsible for her parents. We sent a simple card to the hospital. No return address. It was the decent thing to do, even if they didn't deserve decency. Monday's mail brought a surprise. Tyler had written us a letter, his handwriting careful and deliberate. Dear Uncle Axel and Aunt Sarah, it read. Thank you for letting me visit. I know it caused problems and I'm sorry. Mom and Dad are really mad, but I don't care. You were always nice to me and I miss being a family. I think about Emma a lot. She was really funny and always shared her candy with me. I'm sorry my mom says mean things. I told her it was wrong, but she said I don't understand because I'm a kid. But I think kids understand better sometimes. Love, Tyler. Sarah cried reading it. That poor boy. He's going to be okay, I said. He sees the truth. That's more than a lot of adults in our family can say. Tuesday was the anniversary of Emma's first day of preschool. We've been dreading it. Another milestone she'd never repeat. But instead of staying home and drowning in grief, we took her favorite flowers to the children's hospital where she'd spent her final hours. The nurses remembered us. We think of her often, one said softly. Such a bright light. We donated some toys in Emma's memory, watched sick children's faces light up, and found a strange peace in bringing joy where she'd left us. Wednesday afternoon, our son won his chess tournament. As he held his trophy, scanning the crowd, I saw the moment he realized Tyler wasn't there. The slight dimming of his smile broke my heart. Tyler would be proud, I told him. I know, he said. I just wish he could be here. Sometimes loving someone means accepting you can't be in their life the way you want to, Sarah said gently. But that doesn't make the love less real. Thursday brought another confrontation. Melissa's mother, who'd been out of state during the pool party incident, showed up at Sarah's workplace. Security had to escort her out after she caused a scene, screaming about false accusations and family destruction. She actually said we made the whole thing up, Sarah told me that evening. That Melissa would never say something so cruel, even with multiple witnesses. Apparently we've all been brainwashed or bribed or something. The mental gymnastics were impressive. Friday was quiet. Too quiet. The calm before whatever storm Derek and Melissa were planning. We'd learned their patterns. When caught in wrongdoing, they'd retreat, regroup, then attack from a new angle. Saturday morning, the new angle revealed itself. A process server knocked on our door, handing me an envelope. Derek and Melissa were suing us for defamation, emotional distress, and alienation of family affection. They're actually suing us? Sarah stared at the papers in disbelief. For telling the truth about what she said, I muttered, reading through the complaint. They're claiming the video Mrs. Patterson posted has damaged Melissa's reputation and caused her postpartum depression. Her reputation was damaged by her own mouth, Sarah said. We spent the weekend consulting lawyers, documenting everything, preparing for a battle we'd never wanted. The family group texts exploded with drama. Some supported Derek Derek and Melissa, claiming we'd gone too far. Others were appalled they'd involved lawyers and family matters. Kate called Sunday night. Mom's beside herself. She's threatening to testify on your behalf about all the things Melissa said over the years. She'd do that? She's furious. Said if Derek wants to play legal games, she's got a list of witnesses to Melissa's cruelty going back a decade. Monday, we met with our lawyer, a sharp woman named Catherine who'd handled family disputes before. She reviewed everything. The videos, the texts, the documentation Sarah had been keeping. They don't have a case, Catherine said bluntly. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation, and multiple witnesses heard her say those exact words about your daughter. If anything, you have grounds for a harassment suit against them. We don't want to sue anyone, Sarah said. We just want to be left alone. Sometimes the best defense is a strong offense, Catherine advised. But that's your choice. Tuesday's mail brought letters from family members, some supportive, some not. Uncle Jim wrote that while he disagreed with the lawsuit, he thought we should have handled things privately. Aunt Linda sent a long letter detailing every cruel thing Melissa had said to her over the years, offering to testify if needed. It's tearing the whole family apart, Sarah said, reading through them. It was already torn, I reminded her. This just made it visible. Wednesday, our kids came home from school with questions. Apparently, Tyler had been pulled from activities he shared with classmates who knew our children. The chess club, the science fair team, anything that might put him in contact with his cousins. Why can't we see Tyler anymore? Our daughter asked. Did we do something wrong? No, sweetheart. Sometimes adults make choices that hurt kids, even when the kids didn't do anything wrong. That's stupid, she declared with the clarity only children possess. Yes, Sarah agreed. It is. Thursday brought a development none of us expected. Derek showed up alone, looking haggard. I almost didn't open the door, but something in his expression stopped me. I'm not here to fight, he said quickly. I need to talk, please. Against my better judgment, I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. You're suing us, Derek. What could we possibly have to talk about? That was Melissa's idea. Her mother's, actually. They're convinced you're trying to destroy our family. We're trying to protect ours. He slumped against the porch railing. Tyler won't talk to me. He says I'm a coward for not standing up to his mother. My own son thinks I'm a coward. Aren't you? The words hung between us. Derek flinched, but didn't deny it. I know what she said was wrong, he admitted quietly. I knew it the moment the words left her mouth, but she's my wife, the mother of my children. What was I supposed to do? Protect the victims instead of the bully. Tell the truth instead of making excuses. Choose right over easy. Easy? He laughed bitterly. You think any of this has been easy? My marriage is falling apart. My son hates me. My mother barely speaks to me. The baby won't stop crying, and Melissa just gets angrier and angrier. That's not our fault, Derek. I know, he said, and for the first time since the pool party, he sounded like my brother again. I know none of this is your fault. Emma dying wasn't your fault. Melissa saying what she said wasn't your fault. Me being too weak to stop her. That's on me. So drop the lawsuit. I can't. Melissa's mother hired the lawyer. If I back out now, he trailed off. If you back out now, what? Melissa will be angry. She's already angry. You'll have marital problems. You already have them. You'll have to choose between your wife and your integrity. That choice was made at the pool party. He left without another word, but I saw him sit in his car for 10 minutes before driving away. Sarah had watched from the window. Do you think he'll do the right thing? No, I said honestly. But at least he knows what the right thing is. That's more than I expected. Friday, our lawyer called. They want to settle. Drop the lawsuit in exchange for a mutual no-contact agreement. We're already no contact, Sarah pointed out. This would make it legally binding. Neither party contacts the other, including through third parties or social media. Violation would result in legal consequences. What about the kids? Tyler? The agreement would include minors until they reach 18. Sarah and I discussed it that evening. It felt like defeat, letting them use the legal system to enforce what their cruelty had created. But it also meant protection, a paper shield against future harassment. Emma would want us to be safe, Sarah said finally, even if it means making it official that her cousins can't see each other. Saturday, we signed the papers. It was done. The family that had once gathered for every holiday, every birthday, every celebration was now legally mandated to stay apart. The lawyer said these agreements rarely held up if both parties decided to reconcile, but we knew that would never happen. Some bridges, once burned, left too much ash to rebuild. Sunday was Emma's birthday. She would have been 5. We visited her grave as a family, bringing her favorite flowers and new toys that we'd donate to the hospital later. Our surviving children had written her letters, which they read aloud in voices that trembled but didn't break. I got an A on my science project, our middle child read. You would have liked it. It was about butterflies. I won the chess tournament, our oldest added. I used the move you always said looked like a horsey dance. I painted you a picture, our youngest said, placing a colorful canvas against the headstone. It's our family, and you're the sun, because you're watching over us. Sarah and I held each other as our children talked to their sister, updating her on their lives, telling her they missed her, promising they remembered her always. It was heartbreaking and healing at once. That evening, as we drove home, our son asked, do you think Emma knows about everything that happened? I think Emma knows we protected her memory, Sarah said, that when someone tried to use her against us, we stood up and said no, that's what matters. And we found out who really loves us, our daughter added with that startling wisdom children sometimes possess. The people who stayed. Monday morning came with its usual routine, school lunches, work emails, the rhythm of life continuing despite the legal documents that officially severed our extended family, but something had shifted. The constant anxiety of waiting for the next attack was gone. The legal agreement, cold and formal as it was, provided closure. It's really over, Sarah said, as we watched the kids get on the school bus. The conflict is over, I corrected. The grief, the growth, the healing, that continues. But without them making it harder, I agreed. My phone buzzed, Kate texting that Mom was organizing a small Christmas gathering for the family that chose love over cruelty. Marie would be there, some cousins who'd quietly supported us, the family we were building from the ashes of the one we'd lost. As I headed to work, I thought about Tyler's letter, hidden in my desk drawer, about Derek's moment of honesty on our porch, about Melissa's mother screaming lies in Sarah's workplace, about Mom finally finding her courage, too late to prevent the pain, but not too late to prevent future harm. Some stories don't end with reconciliation. Sometimes the happy ending is in the separation, in the boundaries that protect the vulnerable from the cruel. Sometimes family isn't about blood or law or obligation, but about who shows up when showing up is hard. That evening, we had dinner with the Pattersons. Mrs. Patterson had become an unexpected ally, her grandmotherly presence a balm to our children missing their extended family. As we laughed over her stories and watched our kids play with her grandchildren, I realized we weren't just surviving without our blood family, we were thriving. You know what? Sarah said as we walked home, our children running ahead. I think we're going to be okay. We are, I said, taking her hand. We really are. 6 months later, we received word through our lawyer that Derek and Melissa had divorced. The details were messy, tragedy, involving custody battles and more legal drama. Tyler reached out through his school counselor, asking if he could write to us when he turned 18. We saved that message too, a promise for a future where children could make their own choices about family. Our grief support group became a second family. Our children flourished without the constant criticism. Sarah and I grew stronger, bound by shared pain, but also shared courage. We learned that sometimes losing your family means finding your people, that protecting your children sometimes means teaching them that love has boundaries, that honoring the dead sometimes means standing up to the living. Emma's memory lived on, not as a weapon to wound us, but as a light that showed us who deserved to share our path forward. In the end, that was the greatest gift she could have given us, the clarity to see that family isn't about who you're related to, but who relates to you with kindness, respect, and love.